Where did this number 10 come from? I'll tell you where it came from. It came out of, I'm not allowed to say it came out of somebody's ass. Why are we limited to 10 rounds when the bad guys can carry a 50-round drum into a church if they want to, and I'm relegated to 10? Well, if you notice, back in the 1792 Militia Act, every man was required to have a minimum of 24 rounds. So I should have a minimum of 24, 25 rounds, okay? Where did this number 10 come from? I'll tell you where it came from. It came out of, I'm not allowed to say it came out of somebody's ass. That 10-round magazine issue was whimsically just plucked out of the air because somebody said, well, maybe 10 sounds like a good number, so it became law. Back in 1643, the common law was every household must have a male carrying a firearm to public meetings or to church. And then you come forward 400 years where in the state of New York, in the 1990s, where not only after the 1911 Sullivan laws may you not be in possession of a gun, you certainly could not carry any firearm to a house of worship. The only people that they're afraid of is law-abiding citizens that wouldn't hurt even a cockroach. But the criminals, they let out of jail to run rampant, and they seem to have no fear of them. Otherwise, they would leave them in the cage, in the dungeon, in torture cuffs. But they don't. I don't understand that. There's an interesting story. I think it might have been Duncan v. Bonta, the greatest, most prolific lawyers in America, William J. Olson firm, wrote in a brief to the Supreme Court, he said, if the Patriots had AR-15s and the British still only had their muskets, George Washington would have been forced to say, okay, lads, lay down your AR-15s, pick up your muskets, because it wouldn't be fair to use your AR-15s. Nobody knows what the bad guys are coming at you with. Every time an active shooter event occurs, keep in mind the shooter knows what he's doing. The victims don't know it's coming. So whenever you get an attack, it's always in the form of an ambush. And nobody really prepares themselves for an ambush. When I was working at one of the Supreme Court buildings, I was like 60 years old at least, and I noticed all the other security team around me. Most of them, half of them were like 40, 50. And what really upset me as a dude, as a Tarzan, as a husband, was the way these guys my age were catcalling young teenagers, teenage women, because they look fine. And I watched what was going on, and it was a big atrium that they walked through, the building entrance. And I said, if I had a teenage daughter, would I want her to go through that heckling? And heck, that's right out in the open in view of the cops. What is it like when the cops aren't around? It started to boggle my mind and said, do I want my wife walking through here? The National Reciprocity for Concealed Carry is Representative Thomas Massey from the 4th District of Kentucky bill. He introduced it, I think, back in 1918, but we never had sufficient freedom conservative quorum to get it passed. So he presents it every year, and one of these years freedom patriots will win against the communists, the tyrants.